for the protection. It's an essential for protection of all human rights. So, for instance, if let's say, go back to the Wagala that happened in 1984. People came to know about it. Us who live the other side of town knew about it through the media. Recently, there's a killing that happened here in Majia. There's a protest. How did we come to know about it? It's just through the media. So many of these mega corruption scandals, cases of social killings, enforced disappearance, areas that are rife in this area, we know them through the media. So if the media is suppressed, it means even Wajir will continue being cut off from the rest of the country, because even the road network is not functioning as such. The airlines are more costly. But the only way we connect with each other is through the media. So this is important now for us as a country to promote press freedom. Through it, we can be able to know almost everything that's happening. And making the facts known, like if you make the facts known, for instance, we know that over 4,000 people were killed on the airstrips of Wagala. Just knowing that, it helped now the government was pressured to form that. First, there was an apology. Secondly, there was TGRC reports. And that was a pathway to addressing these human rights violations. And also a pathway to hold people accountable. Next. I think I've spoken about importance of having a free media and why we needed to hold these leaders accountable. So without a free media, we'll have a scenario where we have government officials who are untouchable. For instance, they will do whatever they want and no one will know about it, and they will continue doing it, and it brings impunity. So with media, it helps us at least bring everything else before. So our leaders at times fear shame. So if you're ashamed, if you talk to, it's public, in the public domain, they will back. It hits their conscience a bit. So similarly, the right to know is also essential for a functioning democracy and also for enjoyment of human rights. Citizens have a right to access information about how their government is making decisions and spending their money. So there's no government or government official who spends his own money from his pocket. All money spent, all decisions made, they do it on our behalf, using our own money. So why should they not be able to use that money to address our needs and also treat us with dignity? So we need that information so as we can engage them on this. If you have information that the county government of Wajir had a 4 billion disbursement, then you wake up and see at the end of the financial year, they're showing you 2 boreholes as the only thing they did. There's a problem there. There's a problem there because one, you had that information about the 4 billion that came in, and you have information about the 2 boreholes, which might cost if maximum 10 million. So you can be able to question, where did this other money go to? So that's why it's important to really access this information. So what's the picture on ground? Despite all those flowery things, we are talking about the constitution and all that guarantees, we're still having journalists work and also access to information being difficult. When I talked about walking to the governor's office and asking for information, I saw some of you shake your head because you think it's not something doable or feasible. So most of the time, our media or journalists are prevented from accessing information. Sometimes they're penalized, sometimes they're criminalized. Whereas this should not be the ideal situation. We have a right in our constitution that we must claim it. We are seeing repression picking up, a violation of media freedoms coming out. Also, pressure to control media houses is also coming up. Cases of journalists being killed, beaten up. We have a perfect example of a journalist, a Pakistan journalist, an investigative one who had run from Pakistan to come and get refuge here in Kenya, and he was killed. So his collar shut, and those are the challenges that journalists are going through every day. If we talk about repression, it's simple things like government refusing to pay advertisement or using government advertising agency as a tool to control who reports on what. So what does this mean if we have journalists who are unable to do their work freely? It's just because maybe we have weak laws, like for instance, we have the 2018 cybercrime misuse law that's now is being used mostly by politicians to take journalists, bloggers to court. And I think that law has been experienced mostly in bloggers from Nigeria. Is anyone who has been taken to court, harassed by a journalist here, by a politician, for just publishing something which is in the public domain? And when you're taken in, yeah? Yeah, so it's one of the victims. Yeah, so people are misusing that law to really, that act to harass journalists and also silence vocal voices. There's also political interference where people are branded. If someone is coming from, let's say, is a Degodea, and you write, you are coming from a different clan, and you write a story about you, instead of looking at the issues, they look at the clans and say, this guy is doing it because of clans. So that's one way of dealing with journalists. There's also the economic pressures we spoke about. Most media houses are unable to pay. And unable to pay because government is just frustrating them in terms of government business and all that. We also have lack of training for journalists, which is also interfering, giving setbacks to our right to know. Yeah. So what can we do as citizens of Wajir, or members of Wajir, or members of Amnesty Circle of Conscience, as journalists or human rights defenders? We can't just sit and continue complaining, whereas our constitution says in the preamble, all the sovereign power belongs to the people. It never says it belongs to politicians or your government. It belongs to people. So one way we can engage is advocating for stronger legal protections for journalists, whistleblowers, and also supporting media organizations that are under threat, and calling government to be more transparent and accountable. Like, support does not mean that you take or give in money. It's not all about money. Maybe just being harassed by someone who is closer to you, your friend. You can decide, like for instance, Kenan stays around here. So Kenan starts harassing one of the journalists here. And Kenan is a good friend of mine. And I know it's harassing. Why can't I approach him and tell him this guy is doing his work? He's not doing a crime. So just talk him out of that. Secondly, why can't we just stand in solidarity? Like for instance, they want to arrest him and 10 of us show up in his house and say, now, we just want to block this arrest. Or if you arrest him, we are here, we will escort him to court and all those things. So those are type of supports we are talking about. So the actions we can also take, we must stay informed, so as we can be able to exercise our rights to information. So it's important to be informed and also seek out diverse sources of information, including from independent media, you can do that, and alternative news sources. Say news is on your phone. Initially, our grandfathers and our fathers used to listen to Dira BBC. But today, Dira BBC had a focus on the Western world. Today, we have Kulan doing very well about issues in Nigeria. So you can easily access and know what relates to you. Advocate for media freedom. This can be through even petitions, where you see, like, for instance, if you see that attack on journalists, what did we do as citizens? Did we even write to IG and tell him what we've done is wrong and we're annoyed about it? If all of us, let's not all say all of us, if like IG, after that instance, we had like a flurry of text messages to IG's number. We had flurry of images, messages to Kindiki, the Interior CS, asking him how did this happen and we want accountability. That thing will have happened. Like action will happen. Someone asked here, what happened to that officer? So we don't know if he's still at work or if he's out. So people power here failed those journalists as well. So we failed those journalists and we failed ourselves as well. Participate in civic engagements. The things I've just talked about are part of civic engagements. Be in public forums, hold protests, town hall meetings like this, and speak about it and share ideas on how you can access information to protect the freedom of the media. Support media organizations. You can do by just subscribing to Kulan Post. How many of you are subscribed to Kulan Post here? Yes, just subscribe to your Twitter handle. Follow the journalists in the house. That's part of supporting them. Also, we can promote digital literacy on how just to use online platforms, how to access information online, how to even stream a YouTube news video like the one we're holding here. And also another action, this one is very important. Try in your individual capacities to hold your leaders accountable. Let's not call them Mheshimiwa. They should be calling us Mheshimiwa. We are the one, is for instance, I've been employed by Amnesty, but Amnesty calls me Mheshimiwa. Instead, Amnesty telling me you have not performed on these duties. Why can't we also emulate that? These guys will employ them for a 5-year term. Why can't we ask them the hard questions? Our children, they claim they have bursaries and they have not gotten bursaries. Why are they lying? Our hospitals don't have drugs, but they have insurance to fly to Nairobi to be treated. These are things we can easily do as citizens, individually. So if all of us can take injustice personally, we can help hold our public officials accountable. Join civil society organizations. Some have joined Amnesty. Amnesty is purely a membership organization. It's purely funded by its members, and their members are the ones who determine what action or what programmings to take. So you can join, become an Amnesty member. You can also join, support civil society organizations or CPOs in Nigeria. So as you build solidarity, you can't do this work mostly alone. It's a difficult one. It's a lonely journey. So you need other people to be there with you. And governments or government officials listen to numbers. If you're many asking the same questions, they will come back and say, oh, but if you persistently go there to ask alone, they say, so they will not see it as a governance problem. So that's why it's important to join a civil society or support group. So I think this is the final. Is it the final? Yeah. Yeah, that's almost the final slide from my end. The only security of all is in free press. If you want to be secure, we must, there's no compromise about it. We must have a free press. A free press can, of course, be good or bad, but mostly, most certainly, without freedom, the press will never be anything but bad if it doesn't have freedom. So if it doesn't have freedom, of course, it will serve the powers that be. So if journalists are not free to report openly about UTA, they will always support UDA. So if UDA comes up with those punitive NHIF, punitive taxation, they'll always support that. And that one becomes a bad press. I think that's the end of it. Before we open up for discussion, I'll call on Abdullahi, our board member, to just introduce himself and share with us his knowledge. He's also a journalist, and as I said, is a son of this county. Karibu Abdullahi.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, thank you very much for this session. I am from Wajir. I think you have some people from Wajir at the meeting.
Yes, we are live in Wajir. So we have
good.
So
that people at the meeting will know, will verify that I'm from Wajir. I have to tell them that I am from Bula Ali Nu'aw. I think some of them know it. And I've been a member of Amnesty. Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm hearing some echo, some noise.
Yeah, we're trying to.
So I am a member of Amnesty for the 3rd year now. And the reason I've joined is because I have been doing a lot of petitions.
We can see.
Starting with Kenya Power. You want to see my face?
Yes, you can see. Everyone wants to see you.
I have to. Yes, I have to switch on my camera.
Yes.
I'm in a vehicle. Don't be surprised.
Thanks so much.
Okay. So I think you can see me now.
Yes, you can see you clearly. Okay, carry on.
I'm not seeing any of you, but that's not a problem.
You will see us in a minute.
Maybe later on when you do the posting, I'll see the pictures.
Okay. So
yeah. So I have been a member for Amnesty for 3 years before, almost 3 years before becoming a board member. And I joined Amnesty because I was doing a lot of petitions. I started with Kenya Power Lighting. They used to cut people's power without notification, without anything. And we had to do a lot of petitions. If you look for my social media, Abdullah Abdi Sheikh, Facebook, you can scroll down and see those petitions. And then we also petitioned the immigration. They used to do illegal and discriminatory interviews for Muslims. And we petitioned against that in social media. And we used to do a lot of similar petitions. And I was looking at myself and I was saying, like, am I a lone ranger? And that's how I looked for a family to join. And Amnesty become the family. I became a member. And because one time I was thinking, like, if these guys one day because I was taking letters to officers, if they want to arrest you and they arrest you other than your family and maybe your relatives, who else will come for you? And that's how I said, okay, Amnesty. And then I became a member for Amnesty. And now I'm a board member. And I'm so glad that this is a membership organization. It is not like these other NGOs. This is a very different organization. It is an organization of comrades, people who have the same vision, who want to cause disturbance and bring about change. And that's what we are doing. And now you have seen my posts on the recent killings in Wajir, where 3 young men were killed, 2 by Kenya Wildlife Services on suspicion of poaching, and another one in the subsequent administration. We have been writing about that, faulting authorities, writing to elected leaders, faulting them on why they have not taken action, why they have not visited the grieving families. And it has to start from there. And the media people in Wajir are also doing great work. They have been covering the demonstrations. They have been covering police brutality. So it starts with you as a citizen knowing your rights, right to information, right to service, right to know how the government officials and politicians are spending your money, they are supposed to be transparent, by the way, telling us that this is the amount of money that came in and this is how we spent it. But they don't do that because they don't spend it wisely, or there's an element of corruption. So they cover some of it, and then they tell us, like, for example, somebody will tell you, I'm spending 50 million in bursary, but they don't give you the breakdown. They don't tell you anything. So you have to know your rights, and you have to cause disturbance, and you have to be writing letters, petitions, so that you bring about change and you bring service to the people. And I thank you very much, Billy and the organizers, and thank you all the attendees, and I wish you well.
Asante sana Abdullahi.
So mmesikia the story of Abdullahi. He said he started by being an active citizen. An active citizen is a citizen who sees an injustice and decides to do something. He just doesn't sit there and complain. Amnesty slogans is taking injustice personally. He started off by writing petitions and also finding a family of a movement called Amnesty International Kenya, which globally we have over 17 million members. So those 17 million members can easily help you reach out also to pressure your officials or government officials to act. So we're opening up this session for interaction, reflections, questions. Before we end, we expect to end before Maghrib, so as everyone can go and
Hello.
Maghrib prayers. We can hear you.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
So
Hello.
So we're opening up for plenary. Anyone who has reflection, anyone who has question. So this is the interaction session. Okay. Who wants to go first? I haven't heard from my colleagues, journalists. We always know how to tell other people's stories, but we never tell ours. That's our biggest problem. It's not a challenge for you alone. I also part of that.
It's a very important issue that I want to bring to attention. Yeah, also this also what's called a motivational measure, where sometimes back Americans was offering that it's called safety and security. In this part of Virginia and the way and this time.
Hello.
Also always having threats, not only threats from the authorities, but also have other threats. So having safety and security training sponsored by Amnesty is very important. Bringing there, because we were doing, but we are not considering journalists from this side. That's one. The other one is, which is also very important, is relocation of in case of not only from the authorities, sometimes it can come from cross border threats from cross border. Then you have, for example, mechanism where a journalist can be located somewhere safely. Thank you.
So Amnesty does annual training for journalists in specific areas. So unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of participation from this area. But I think with colleagues from other organizations, we're planning for one this year. I think maybe in August, which will bring together these regions to Kilifi, Lamu, and others in one position. But we don't take all journalists, we take select to just train them so they can also influence themselves. On safety and protection, Amnesty believes in the freedom of the press and the media. So we work to have personal safety of journalists. So we have cases that we work on, cases of whom we relocated some of them. Some were in court defending them. Some were giving them solidarity in courts and all that. So we support journalists in that with other partners. So as we said, we don't work in isolation, we work in an ecosystem. So we have Committee to Protect Journalists, we have Free Press Limited, we have Protection International Kenya, Defenders Coalition Kenya. All these work to help have a free press. So a journalist should not be worried and think that he's alone. Just like any other human rights defender, when you reach out with attacks, feeling your life is better, it's better to reach out. When you reach out, they will assess, and if your case is worth it, according to people assess it. Of course, we'll here and there get some help to safeguard their journalists. Any other question?
Hello?
To apply
Hello?
to us in the room?
Hello?
Rajab, there's someone who's trying to speak online.
Hello?
Thank you very much. Actually, I want first to appreciate that the effort done by the journalists,
Hello?
especially the young men and the active and the passionate lady, our manager.
Hello?
What I want to say is access to information is almost impossible in one jail.
Hello?
And I think retired elder values this morning, there's the issue of, I think, government putting one person in the office, but again, on top of that person, there's someone citing him or her. And then without the consent of the governor, I want to be specific and I don't want to report anything. That will not work. Because you take a petition to someone, or maybe you are taking a court order to someone in an office, and the office is not a vacuum. Office is occupied by an officer. Then funny enough, when the officer is willing to take someone from the side show, I don't know who, we just say, no, we will not accept that. We are not taking. The other issue is actually intimidation happens. We, as the civil society, we work closely with the social, because when we have an issue, we ask the request. Actually, they never charge us. Never. They never ask for any shilling to air our grievances or our what we want to tell the community. And we really appreciate, because they even give us a space where we can raise our concern and we tell the public what is happening. But sometimes you realize a media personnel is intimidated and guard. Example, I can remember, was it 2015? When Wajir Community Radio was raided? Why was it raided? A mere simple man said, the governor, by then the current governor was the first governor of Wajir, if you remember. He said when he was looking for votes, he came to my house, I gave him a plastic chair, but today accessing himself by town. That is something an officer should not even take time or even think about it. But what happened? Media, the raid was raided. That was an order given. That clip, they went for that clip. And when we tried to escape, we just saw that clip was still nothing. The guy was, handcuffed. The security guard was also handcuffed. The communication director was using police officers. And when the radio was, when the community radio reported, and we condemned, because I'm a born member of the community radio, we condemned that act. That clip was never aired. Truth be told. What does that show you? There's something wrong. I want to ask my brothers and sisters that yes, sometimes intimidation happens, but sometimes your conscience to guide you. Because at least you are a Muslim, and God has decided how you will die. But okay, I will not go in the front line to go and be killed, spray flame, whatever, I don't say. But sometimes there's something principle. And I've also requested the media personnel, the young men who are seated in front up, to to protect, to support each other, to look the back, to support when their colleagues are intimidated or attacked. Let them start in solidarity with them. The other issue is governor can use a divide and rule. Current government can divide rule to make sure actually the person who's actually, I think there's some program they come to government, some journalists are not allowed in Wajir. They're not allowed actually to air. I can remember one of the victims was my brother, my colleague chairman of Wajir Climate Change. Yes. They were not allowed. The question is why? And when we give our answers, everything is done. Which myself, I'm not most of the time. If I say something, I want that thing to be released. Or you give me 2 minutes. Then you say me, Fatuma, speak of the 2 minutes you have, not more. So that what I said is captured completely. But when you edit it, and some words I said, and then you remove, and then you put something. You edit it, and then you remove some words I mentioned, and then you bring it together. Instead of the 2 minutes, you make it 1 minute, and that finishes. The only thing I'm asking my brothers is, government comes and finish. But the still that's not going. The community of Ojia. Maybe we die tomorrow, some of us may not be there for the next election. God knows. The next time we don't know when we're going to be ended. But the question I'm asking is, how safe even are the journalists as them as the the messenger? The messenger, sometimes don't think of the messenger. Maybe I'm not liked by money, as Fatuma. But the message I'm giving is for the interest of the community. I know maybe some journalists wouldn't like what I say. But don't forget of Fatuma. Just think of that message that I'm giving. What am I saying? We are saying that information you give feed to them. You are the backbone of the society wherever you every day. People listen to YGFM, people listen to community radio. Go to the page of Kulon Post, whatever, YGFM community radio. You go and watch, and what are you looking for? Information. But when you don't give that information because of a self-interest, or sometimes you fear, if someone could have died today, this young lady, this, I admire Halima. Not being a board member, no, but this girl was even, has been dressed separately. Her life has been put in, but she never mentioned in the social media. She never complained. She made sure she put in a boot. We know some few others, as they said. No, I'm not condemning journalists. I'm not condemning any journalists. What I'm saying is what I've encountered as an activist. We encounter every day. The same we get in from the police. When you get the report, sometimes you are told you are not covering that report. You see? So the question we are asking, if the intimidation is coming from the government, if these young boys who are actually jobless are journalists are doing a freelancing, they're giving the communities free services, and they're not accommodated because of funny thing, because they said something about the county government, because they said something about the national government, because they said something about a politician, that's going to be a talent. And we are a member of the Defenders Coalition to present the Ojia County. We have cases several deal on gender-based violence and safety. Safety.
Okay.
Hello. 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 Hello.
So sorry.
These are safe space.
I'm done.
Communicate and just agree on how we move on.
Maybe there's my words going to hurt someone, but what I think I want you to take on the light too. I have no personal interest in any journalist. Most of the journalists are my friend. So next thing I remember in a forum I attended, my clip was deliberately removed from the gathering we were doing. I know why it's done. And sometimes I'm not asking others name. When someone tells you don't do this and don't do this, remember you're not a free person. You are somebody else caged. Your freedom or your open mind actually going to be get arrested. Sometimes you'll have the difficulty even to air what's supposed to be aired. The other thing is, can Amnesty International have a capacity strengthening? Which I appreciate, yes. But also we have the safety and security programs done and well-being of this. And activism, not just the human rights defenders who make moves, even the journalist activists. I think we are even asking the Defenders Commission, I'm happy you mentioned them, that the safety and security and well-being of the media personnel should also be put in. Because every year there's this activity training annually on human rights defenders. And I think human rights defenders, they don't charge you, they want you to be a member. We recommend by severally individuals who join that training, but I think we never have worked close. Even my best friends, I never thought of nominating their name to Defenders, but why not? You know, sometimes something you didn't understand, you're going to hell. So please, I'm asking my brothers, and I know my mentor is manager, to make sure that we walk the talk. And when we walk the talk, people will be fed up with us. But at the end of the day, you'll be only someone standing for the truth. Not clan-based, not individual interests, not group interests, whatever the case, but I'll be the happiest lady in this Wajir country when I realize that media is not that, and the media themselves, they don't guard each other. Thank you.
So I think Abdullah will.
There's one comment.
Okay.
Hello?
Goods fund,
Hello?
really? Is the goods fund really free and independent? That's the question I've been asking myself. Because we tell them petition, it's petition the county government, the second county government actually. We petition them. Remember, some of us were arrested. We intimidated, but that didn't put us down. But now, goods fund, even when you communicate to institutions, I'm surprised. It's like they don't have the biting teeth there. I go and Goodsman, because we even had just a meeting like this, and we submitted our memo to them that the challenges we have gone, how many officers we have taken to our memorandum, and up to date there's no response. Reminder, if you write an email, where's the answer? There's no response. The other thing is IPOA, Independent Police Oversight Authority. I'm a victim of a police officer. But after 24 August 2021, after that, my case is just buried with the IPOA. No investigation, no nothing. So recently, when they were coming for the killing of the wildlife, the two young men from Barwabo and the young boy also from the Rhine, my belief is like, I have no confidence, I have no faith in these two institutions. Because when you complain, even we wrote to the Attorney General, we wrote to the Senate, we can, I mean, remember, Abdullah said, keep on writing. When you keep writing, you keep writing. You know, sometimes you hit the wall. And the membership, because of experts in our county, divide and rule is done. Actually, you lost the interest. Even myself, I asked, is there a need by being an activist anymore? Because things are diverted to plan, and diverted to individual interests, and diverted to disability. I'm a lady, I'm a mother for a year, I'm a female from personal community, I'm a female with disability. So what does that mean? Thank you.
Those are very strong reflections. We will give a chance to one online member to ask a question, Stanley. Then Abdullah will take it on those questions that I'll add in as well. Then we can take next round of
okay,
questions.
hello.
I think we have very few
Hello.
minutes aiming to end of this session.
Hello?
I can see you are burning the question as well. Hey, uko umesahau?
Hello.
Hello?
Hiyo question imeenda. Stanley.
Yes, hello. How are you, everyone? Hi, everyone. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
You can get me now.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, I'm in Nairobi. I'm calling from Nairobi. I have been following the talk. It's quite very great. But for me, I would just encourage each and everyone to make sure that we work hard to create awareness to both local and international through Amnesty International. But my worry is that as a member, I have been a member for the last 3 years. But since then, I don't know where even the office of Amnesty International in Nairobi, where it is. And no one has reached to us and tried to invite us to the office and get even our cards. So we would like to encourage for us to know each other where we are, and wherever we are in problems, where we can be able to come out and assist our fellow members. So for mine, I would like to request that do we know, should we be told where the office is? And if you are a member, do we have a card to show that we are a member of Amnesty International? And do we get those privileges of learning and getting information? Like this is the first training I have interacted with and learning, but we as members, we are not empowered anywhere to advocate for the rights of all people in our continent and in Kenya. So my question is, can we be trained first as members of Amnesty International for us to have knowledge and be equipped? That is all my answer. Thank you very much. And thank you for this session. I'm in Nairobi and working on environmental activist.
Thank you so much, Stanley, on that. And apologies for not knowing where our offices are. I think being reached out, 2 members have given cards to show it. And this engagement is part of us engaging our members more so as they can take on actions at their community level and also be able to help sort out or tackle human rights issues in their own communities. That's why we are here today to interact with our members. So before Blai takes the questions, I think there was some burning issue.
Hello.
Yes, Joan Sotieno.
Okay, I'm Johannes Otieno calling from Kisumu County.
Go on.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm Johannes Otieno calling from Kisumu County, Moroni sub-county. I represent a CBO known as Violence Against Women and Girls. Now, one of the setbacks of the media personnel, as per our session, because I was following the session, some of the setbacks are lack of training and economic pressure. And we know very well that most of the people who are working in the media industry, some of this media industry are being owned by, maybe they are private. We have only one, which is KBC, which is public, and most of these are privately owned. Now, as Amnesty International, is there any maybe a plan that maybe anybody who want to take who want to work in the media fraternity, maybe you can organize in future for anybody who wants to work in the media industry, maybe to have an independent body who can support media personnel. Hello?
Thanks so much, tumemsikia from Kisumu. Asante sana kwa kujoin. So virtually or in Wajir. Okay, we will respond to that. Any other questions here before we put it to line? Yes. Any question which I have my sound the same. Mine is yeah, mine is to blame and comment also the journalists at the same time. One is to blame, particularly we from this region. First, to get the national myself was a bit of paper. To East Africa, I was asking myself, am I a citizen in this country, my own country? And Kenyans are thinking they are thinking of being a member of this African community. Can you see the level 92? And the issue that is there in this country is that there are a lot of news, some that take news or make the news heads, or can even initiate the journalists to do his work more better than where he is today. If at all they are for it, but it's very unfortunate that. Let me give you an example. Almost all elected leaders operate from Nairobi. And all the 5 years they are elected, might be they will be in their county only 90 days or 100 days. Because it's very unfortunate or it's very hard to get a leader, maybe an MP
or a governor or a senator or a woman representative sitting in their offices to serve the electorates. If I'm wrong, you tell me I'm wrong. They only come to this county when they have dignitaries visiting the county only, mostly. The only time they come, maybe the governor, may she be a woman rep, MP, or a senator. The only time you'll find them in this county is whenever a dignitary from the national government or from outside the national government is coming to this county, when you get them. So what I ask myself is, how comes these guys represent the majority who elected them? They have offices in Nairobi. How do the Mamabogas from Jinga and that mother who sells in state group to access these ballots? It's very unfortunate. And besides that, they said this money goes to my family person and Pujan and yet you will not get the innovative journalists that go after these guys asking them about to take the money. They have to come pay someone and locking their doors. It came common when most of the kind of journalists that we run after politicians wherever they go, and we give them preference or we give them tunapangia umuhimu kuliko wale ambao wameandika kazi. Journalists akaenda kuingia choo kule, nasikia iko kwa media. Like let people handle matters and children dying. Do not have that privilege. So until we have the notion, we journalists, we get that notion of having our people and our country first, then this looked at and criminals will not get what we want and not reach what we need. When we get journalists who are open, who are independent, who can hold these guys accountable and who are transparent themselves and not favoring the regime in place, maybe the county or the national, that's the time when the community will stand up and say, no, these are people who represent us, they are our voices, and they talk for us. But if the governor decides who will cover him, and maybe your colleague is being harassed in Jogo Primary School, and you're just watching, it's very unfortunate. We want you to be sisters and brothers for each other. Come on, journalists, and people who are there's no reason of being calling myself to be a journalist. Very unfortunate. So that's what happened. It was just 2 months ago, a journalist attacked at Tobaro, where the government was project was going on. I don't see journalists commenting about it. Tomorrow to happen to them. So as long as we don't keep ourselves and unite as one voice, no matter our opinion, we have the right to speak or people. Every house has the right to talk to their opinion or what they feel like, or air what they feel. But as a journalist, you are the same path and same mother. It's good you defend yourselves. And also, be our twin, be our agents, and be our ambassadors of the community. Then being representative of this who's we are elected. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. That was value issue. I think, Abdullahi, what has been your experience? Abdullahi, are you still with us? Yes, still here. So what has been your experience and what?
Hello, the voice is not clear when you go to the podium, but I can hear you clearly. You want my view on the issues that were discussed?
Yes, what
I caught some of them. I put them down on there.
More active citizens in Nigeria. They're saying you go to the governor's office and someone tells you he will not be able to receive this petition, or they don't want to hear anything from you. Journalists are attacked and others don't speak about those attacks. Others are covered.
Yes.
That's your experience, and how can we move forward with this?
I think this one is people to speak up. You know, if you stay with your problems in your little corner, there's no way you can get support. There are a lot of in Wajir. There are some people there are my heroes. They have been standing for the rights of the people, for the rights of women, particularly. And you know, they have caused the issue, like the issue of rape has been a big issue in Wajir, but because of the activists in Wajir. Now people are being taken to court, they are being sentenced. And you know, you can't stop at somewhere like somebody can stop you. There's nothing like that. If the governor is not receiving the petition, there are some ways to go around that. There's media, you can report it on social media, you can report it on media. If you have a lot of money, and I wish we had a lot of money as activists, you can use the newspaper advert. But you have to figure out how you can navigate or how you can go around those challenges. And my view, the politicians, they don't like negative publicity. The moment they know that if they mess you, this thing will go to the media, it will go to the social media, it will go to, they will get calls from people, then they won't behave like that. But what's happening is we easily give up. Like the petition to Kenya Power and Lighting, I remember, they were like rogue in Wajir. They don't give notice. They just cut electricity from any part of Wajir. We wrote to them, we engaged them. At least we force them to communicate to people via text. Like they text you, they tell you maybe there will be a power interruption. At least, you know, that's something. And now I think they have been they have been trying to solve the issue by bringing in generators. And you see, there is also the issue of the rights of the people and the other petitions. So you don't stop anywhere. You always have an option. You can go to the other bodies, you go to other organizations, you can go to the media, you can resort to social media, you resort to your activists, fellow activists. And I think it is now the time to form in Wajir, we form some groups like a circle of conscience to try to figure out how we can collaborate together and work together. Although I know you have a very vibrant civil society groups that are collaborating and working together to face the problems in Wajir. But I want to advise you, don't stop. Now, I remember we were engaging the immigration. They used to do interviews to Muslims. People are cramped, mostly from northeastern Kenya. When you go to immigration, it was a very pathetic situation. You see people crammed in rooms, queuing, scrambling to see somebody. They ask, who is your chief? Who? When we did that, petition that through social media, through directly, they stopped it. But what they started? They started another vetting process. You go apply, and then they say you are in a vetting process. We are also trying to petition against that because it is a discriminatory and religious-based discrimination, and it shouldn't be there. So I think you shouldn't give up. You continue. You write and use the media and use your fellow activists and use the organizations until you bring about the change that's desired, or you do your bit. You don't give up. You don't just say he doesn't receive petition. There are so many ways to go around that. There was also the very good lady who was asking whether Amnesty can support some of the action activities in Wajir. I think that one is, it depends on the activity and depends on the organization, and it is not something we can give an outright answer. It's something we will always consult. And there's also the issue of absent leaders. I think I had that. And maybe it is time for the media to focus on how many days the Wajir leaders spend in their offices with their electorates. Some of them will score badly. Some of them, I don't think there's any one of them who will score good on that. So these things, you just figure out how to put pressure on them and navigate through the challenges you are facing, and you know, collaborating with your fellow activists, colleagues, organizations. Shout to us, shout to other organizations, and you will always find a way out.
Shukran, Abdullahi. I think we ran out of time, but I'll take the bullet from the journalist house. that accusation. How news works. News as an ecosystem. If I do an interview with you, I think I'm speaking to her, she was saying she speaks and is cut out. So if I do an interview with you for 20 minutes, I have like 30 seconds to express your feelings in that 30 seconds. And if you accuse Jill of plundering resources, as a journalist, I can't, it's rule of natural justice. I can't accuse him and her. I'll go to him and also get his side of the story and mix it together to make a complete story. So what most of citizens, when they see a journalist, you've given him a story, a journalist goes to Jill, have his feedback or his side of the story, you think that journalist is compromised. Or you think he's not giving my issues priority. So that ecosystem of journalism, and it has segments. It has political, investigation, human interest, and all those fashion and all other stuff in there. So misunderstanding comes in mostly if you think they have not covered it well. But the best way is to nurture relations. We are human beings. We are animals who adopt habits. So if I'm your friend, it's easier to cover your story as well, because I understand where you're coming from. So it's better for also us to nurture relations, social media relations, and also to understand how media operates, to understand what time is it timely to release a statement in specific things. We can't have Maandamano Mondays in Nairobi, and that's what is clouding everything else. And we here in Wajir, we want to talk about, let's say, farming. So sometimes we have to be also timely and tactical on when to speak. So I think we'll be engaging more on these issues so that we can understand each other. And also journalists are not engines. We make mistakes. And our mistakes are not buried in reporters. Our mistakes are published online and on newspapers. So when we make mistakes, sometimes reach out, we will rectify them. As a Kenyan, we also have a right to have a right of reply, have erroneous information about you corrected. So journalists will always be ethical to correct mistakes. And those are things we are taught in journalism school and our code of conduct. So secondly, on the issue of, I think Abdullahi spoke about it, the issue of you take a petition, they refuse. There are so many ways of delivering it. Every one of us here has a number for the MP, you have a number of the governor. Why can you flag that message on his number, on his Facebook, on his Twitter? So there are many ways to express. Also, there are many ways of having your news covered or aired. For instance, if Kulan Post doesn't see it as relevant to be a newsroom, right? Because there's an editor who decides on what to be covered. Why don't you tweet it when TV, KTN? Look for a number of the editor in Nairobi and tell them this is what's happening here. That one will bring traction. So it gives us a national dynamics and also national coverage. I think the problem I was having some time back, even the problem we're having to follow up incidents of police, most of the language communicated out is Somali. So try as much as possible to communicate in Swahili. So as you get solidarity across, like our brothers in Kisumu, can help you amplify your messages. So I think that's where we can end. I think it's time for Sola as well, unless there's a burning final question. Anyone? Before I hand over to him, I think he'll be the one to close and do all the other. Any other question or any? Yes.
Thank you very much. A lot has been said, and it's true sometimes the public don't understand when you do an interview of 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you only need to get some seconds of news. It is true. Sometimes someone will tell you why you should add the 20 minutes of the interview. But sometimes we should take that step to inform that what we needed is just 1 second for the news. The other thing is right. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to get government officials or also the private. But it is upon the journalists just to say that even our efforts to reach them was unfulfilled. So that one makes us to, but the biggest challenge currently is to apply to the county, of whereby we want to get the feedback from the county government. The fourth effort, we are not at par with the other three districts. Very unfortunate as a country. And this is because of the economic meltdown. Most of the media houses, they are collapsing. Most of the journalists are unpaid. And they take that effort to bring stories to media houses. So it is upon the stakeholders, especially the Media Council, the Amnesty International, to come and rescue the media industry. Because currently, we are not making any money. We have staffs. We are the biggest media outlets in the region. And if you don't pay for your staffs, it becomes a very big challenge. So I think it is upon us, all the stakeholders, to come and say the situation so that the media can be at the same power with the others, because we are also very important. We are the source of the information that wants to appeal to the citizens, and without us, it is automatically the whole country or the whole world will not know what is happening. So thank you for coming to Wajir. We really welcome you. And from this session you have had, we also need to thank for the journalists. So welcome. We really appreciate your coming and us. Please thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So journalists rely on tips, news tips. You tell them we have ABC and they wait if it's newsworthy or not. So journalism are paid by facts. So facts come from people like me and you.
Suppose they create, for example, as you know, the same on the lady. As for example, how much the money amount of money we get down received from the exchange is this amount.
Yes, that's investigative journalism. And also ask. So I think we ran out of time, unfortunately. Let me hand over to our host. Host. Thanks so much.
Mimi fair mahali ya kulala
tuko na circle of concerns apologia our chair lady is Madam Fatuma. So on behalf of Madam Fatuma, I would like to give the vote of thanks. Thank you very much, our guests, for coming over to the gym. We are going to present you here on the ground. If you need anything, feel free to contact us. And for journalists who we have invited and other performers in the gym, we will fraternity. We would like to inform you that we are here on the ground in case of anything. In case of any information maybe you need to direct to Amnesty International, you can join us Amnesty in the moment. That is what I want to say. So you can pay a yearly subscription like 1,000 shillings to join in the movement. So Abdullah was also telling us that we were able to address the issue of Ujia alone by writing a petition. So if we join hands, that is when we are going to be strong as a team. Thank you so much. I don't want to dwell so much on this issue. So team, as a team from Ujia, let's take this issue of human rights ahead from where it is now. Thank you so much. I'm going to miss you all. Okay. There's some small reflection. After prayers, we have been allocated a room for us for the male to pray.